What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. I'm Matt over at DSR, and today I'm back at Whole Shot taking this KTM 1290 SuperDuke GT. If you've been following my channel, you know this is my arch nemesis. I'm not going to let that deter enjoying this bike this morning. It does look like it's going to rain, so let's just get on with it. SuperDuke GT has got the same engine in it as what the 1290 SuperDuke R has got, but for the GT it's slightly changed on the stat side. So this has got 175 brake horsepower, SuperDuke R's got 180, but this is still pushing out 141 Newton meters of torque. 175 brake with that torque, it means this bike shifts just like the SuperDuke R does. Ergonomics, pegs are quite actually far underneath your bum, which means the triangle between your hip, your knee and your feet is quite strong. It means there's quite a bit of pressure on the knees, so this is meant to be the grand touring. I'm not sure how this bike would fare on extreme long distances. There's not a whole lot of room to maneuver and kind of release that pressure from your knees. Hold up, wait a minute. Top off is fairly comfortable. There is a little bit of lean forward onto the handlebars, so a little bit of pressure onto your wrists. And then we do have this screen up the front. It is adjustable. KTM say 9 different positions. To be honest, you either have it down or up. It's not particularly that tall either, so wind turbulence is definitely going to be something considered if you're going to get this bike to do some touring. Let's have a look at the suspension and brakes then. On this we have got Brembo style levers, and at the front we've got two 320mm discs, and the braking power on this bike, same as SuperDuke R, is extremely strong. Absolutely no dramas about getting stopped with this bike. One finger for your kind of casual riding, town riding, and then 2 fingers when you're on the twisties, riding a little bit more spirited, should we say. Suspension, we have got the semi-active suspension from WP Apex. So far it's doing alright. It's on street with single rider. What's good, you can go into the settings of this bike and there are some other options you can choose for the suspension, such as picking whether it's just the rider with luggage, 2 up, or 2 up with luggage. You can pick that, and then the suspension will do its magic and make the ride a little bit better for you. The other part of the suspension that you can adjust if you go into the settings is the damping. So there's 3 options for that. It's going to be comfort, sport and street. I'm a big guy, 115 kilos. Most suspension isn't kind of set up for my weight. You'll find most stock suspension is kind of set for around 80 kilos. So having the ability to change this on the fly will help me out, especially on these back roads where there's more potholes and lumps and bumps and everything like that. Let's move on to the electronics in this bike. Starting off at the front, we do have LEDs. You're going to have your daytime running lights, and also what's nice to see is you can have your cornering lights. Those cornering lights, there's 3 of them, and they're activated on the lean angle. Coming back from that, we have got this large TFT screen, I believe 7-inch, which is taken from the KTM 1290 Super Adventure. It's big, I like it. You can see all the information you need. The only thing I don't particularly like is I would like to have full navigation, but instead at the minute all you can get is turn-by-turn navigation, which is controlled by the KTM rider app. As standard, this bike will come with 3 rider modes, and that's going to be street, sport and rain. As always with KTM, they do provide optional extras. Those optional extras are going to include performance and track. Performance is going to be where you can adjust all your parameters, so your slip, your throttle response, your traction control, your anti-wheelie, your launch control, things like that. Moving back to the handlebars then, we do have these lovely switch gears, and they are backlit, which is really nice to see. It just means when you are touring and you're at night time, you can just see where the buttons are. Sometimes, especially if it's a new bike, you kind of haven't worked out the layout yet, so having a little light behind them is very much appreciated. As standard with the SuperDuke GT, you do get cruise control, and that's activated on your left hand side. And then moving over to the right hand side of the handlebar, the main thing you need to know is that it's got quick action buttons, so function buttons, C1 and C2. You can go into the settings of the bike when you're stationary and you can assign certain things to those buttons. So for me, if I push forward, I've got it where it takes me straight to my ride mode, so I can pick street, sport, rain, performance, track, etc. And then if you want, you can then pick your C2 to do your suspension or your slide control, or whatever option is available in the bike that you can put assigned to that button, you can pick. Being a big lump of a V-twin, you do notice there are quite a lot of vibes through the handlebars and the pegs. This has kind of been notorious amongst the 1290 range, especially when going in 6th gear. This bike just does not like it. 6th gear on motorway speed, it's very luggy and you can just feel the thumping of the engine, and then it only clears up when you get to around 90 miles an hour or above. It's something that frustrates me. Like, what's the point in having a 6th gear in this bike? It is unusable. I had someone comment last year on my GT video, oh, it's ideal when you're on the autobahn. Yeah, cool, fantastic. I've never been on the autobahn on a bike, so I don't need a 6th gear that's like an overdrive gear. Where this bike really comes through is 3rd and 4th gear. Get on the back roads, get on the B roads, and this thing absolutely goes. It's easy to ride fast because you're in that semi-comfortable riding position. You've got a screen. It's not like the SuperDuke are, where it's naked and you're getting all the wind effects hitting you. You've got a little bit of a bubble, so it just means you can ride it a little bit quicker, kind of without realising. The gear shifter on this is really low, but you can adjust them, so the pegs are adjustable to 3 different positions to suit obviously different riders, which is handy, because at the minute this is almost so low that I could struggle getting it into neutral, but that's just something that can be easily changed. So looking at the throttle response and then the fueling, I'm in 2nd gear trying to keep it around 25 to 30, and the throttle is a little bit on off, it is a little bit choppy. I am in street mode at the minute, so let's change it over to rain and we'll see if there's any different, if it's any smoother. Same again, 2nd gear, it's still a little bit choppy. You go into 3rd gear and you try and go around 30 miles an hour, and you can do it, it's just a little bit more luggy. It kind of doesn't like being that low down in the rev range, under 3000 RPM, hence why I kind of went into 2nd gear. So even 40 miles an hour, 3rd gear, the initial 10% the pickup on the throttle, you can definitely feel it kind of chugging, pushing you back a little bit. Mirrors are decent on this. I can see over 50% of the mirrors past my shoulders, so that's good enough. Sometimes on a big lumpy bike like this, you find the vibrations go straight to the mirrors and you can't see a thing. But so far, so good. Handling, it does flick nicely from side to side. It is very precise in the corner, it goes exactly where you want it. Hopefully the wind isn't too bad. The problem is the wind's kind of coming around the bottom of the visor. Yeah, so there may be some noise on the video, and I apologise if there is. Being part of the Duke family, KTM have brought over what's called Supermoto ABS, where you can turn off the rear, keep the front, and then you can do some of those back end slides. Is it really needed on a Grand Tourer? Probably not. How many people are going to use it? I don't know. But it's there, so if you want to use it, you crack on. Let's find somewhere to pull over. We'll have a little walk around, do a sound test, and you guys tell me what you think of this GT. If you were looking at buying a tourer bike, would this be it? Would this make the shortlist? So here we go then, this is what she looks like. Here, do we have those cornering lights I was on about? I think they're integrated really nicely. This colour scheme is a GT only scheme, so I think it looks really nice. I like the darker with a little bit of orange, big fan of it. Continuing our move round then, stock exhaust, I think it looks ugly. And I don't think it sounds particularly good either. We'll do a sound test in a minute. But what I do like about the rear is this integrated luggage system for the panniers, so you don't have any extra racking hanging off the bike when you don't have the bags on. Looking from the rear of the bike, the tank does look big, and that's because it is 23 litres. You're going to get around 200 miles to a tank, so plenty of miles between filling up. Moving closer to the cockpit, keyless entries, we've got a keyless gas cap. The GT does come with heated grips as standard, so that is nice to see, but if you do want the heated seat option, that's going to be an extra. On both sides of the TFT, we do have these little luggage compartments, so small I don't really know what you're going to put in them. Front left under here, we've got a 12-volt socket, so if you're going to run a sat nav or a phone, you can put them on and then charge whilst you are riding. Yet another optional extra from KTM is a quick shifter up and down. Me personally, I think it's required, especially if you are doing the touring. I just like having a blipper up and down. I can hear you asking, optional extra for that, extra for the performance mode, the track mode. You want to do some touring so you can have a comfort seat, get the heated seat. All these little extras add up, and what they're going to add up onto. And before you start thinking about those extras, you got to look at the base price of this bike, £18,800. You add these extras, you then chuck in the bags as well, you're talking over 20 grand. And trust me, I know this because I bought one last year. I ask myself now, is it worth over 20 grand, 21,000, 22, with all the goodies, all the extras? Questionable. But I will leave you to decide that. That is not for me to change your mind on a KTM. Let's do a sound test then. What do you think? Any good for a stock bike? I'm 6'1". This bike has a seat height of 835mm, but I find because of the seat position, it does kind of force my legs outwards, which means I've got the balls of my feet both sides on the floor, but I'm certainly not comfortably flat-footed. So something to be mindful of if you are slightly vertically challenged, shall we say. Another couple of nice features on the old electronic side. This bike does have self-cancelling indicators, so either after 10 seconds or 150 metres travelled they'll turn off. You do have a tyre pressure monitoring system just to keep track of your tyre pressure, and then finally you do have hill hold control, which I find really helpful, especially if you've got luggage or your partner on the back, or worst case partner and luggage. And the last thing I am noticing is the squeaky brakes. Had this on my 1290 as well. Must be a KTM thing. And there we go, ladies and gents. That has been a quick ride and review of the 2023 KTM SuperDuke GT. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you like it. More importantly, subscribe to the channel. Plenty more videos coming from Wholeshot, Kawasaki and KTM in the near future. And until next one, ride safe.